of you know me already, so I don't think I need an introduction. But since I'm recording the event, I'm still introducing myself. I'm Alison, and I'm the founder of FreeW. And this organization aims to ignite women's emancipation and self-empowerment through motorcycling. So right now I am mainly giving motorcycle classes to women in Malaysia, organizing events as this one to connect fellow women riders and also to learn from each other and to learn together about motorcycling, and organizing motorcycle tours. And that's the topic of today, obviously. The idea is to organize women-led motorcycle tours in countries where we can experience the life of local women and contribute to their economic empowerment. So we are going to talk a lot about that today. But before, I also would like to introduce you to my partner for those events, Leah. So some of you know her as well. She's the founder of Green Cherry Bomb. So I let her also give a few words about her organization.
Thanks, Alison. So I'm Leah, and this is Eris. She should be asleep, but she's not, so she's joining us today. So as Alison said, I'm the founder of Queen Cherry Bomb. I design motorcycle gear for women, and Alison and I connected maybe 6 to 8 months ago with our on LinkedIn, actually, due to our love of motorcycling. And also our love of being able to support women all over the world, and whatever that looked like for both of us, our values really resonated. So we wanted to bring people together and have events online where we could actually connect all across the world, and this has been a pretty amazing platform to do so. So as I said, my longest ride has been about 1,500 Ks at a time, like not at a time, but across a few days. But my dream is to ride across Asia, Southeast Asia that's my dream, and also across parts of Australia through the desert. And that's a whole other form of riding that I haven't even kind of broached on yet. So I'm really, really looking forward to tonight and listening to Jai, because this is going to be really, really awesome. And hopefully when all this COVID stuff settles down, I can come across and ride with some of you guys. So I'm really keen to do that.
Yes, definitely. So there's also another question I'd like to ask to all of you. So you all did a few trips and more or less long and so on, but I'm wondering, do you have any fear? What would be the main thing that would prevent you from going on a motorcycle a trip of a few days or a few weeks? What is preventing you from doing that right now? You can share in the chat or just unmute yourself and share with us. Well, and of course, don't yet. I was gonna say don't tell COVID, because this is something common. But okay, so Leah is saying my baby. So right now, okay, that's difficult to go on a motorcycle tour with your baby. But wait, my first motorcycle tour was with my dad, and I was 4 years old. So you don't have too long to wait.
Yeah, I was too, and that's why I think our parents have a lot to answer for for our love of motorcycles. But I was touring around with my dad as well at that age, and I can't wait to be able to take Eris. We're actually looking at the moment for some way of getting her on our bicycles. Nice. So we can start that and bicycle around, but the motorbikes are a little bit far off.
Yes, I can imagine. So Nonish is saying, what prevents me? Busy with work and can't take leave. So yeah, obviously that's a good reason as well. Or maybe you should quit your job. No, yeah, seriously, that's something that is quite preventing. Anything else you'd like to share on what's preventing you from traveling? Work and study, fear, breakdown in the middle of nowhere and suddenly ambushed. Yeah, actually, I've heard that quite a lot. Like, I know ladies who wanted to travel, even in Malaysia, to go for a weekend. and they're always worried to break down the bike. So that's something we can talk about later. That will be a good topic. But yes, being self-confident of if something happened with the bike and I'm in the middle of the way, how do I manage? Yeah, unfamiliar places. Okay, that's a fear. Okay, anything else? Okay, so if you have anything else to share, please put it in the chat. And it was nice to share those because some of those fears we're going to address with Jai. So now it's time to give the floor to Jai, who will give a little introduction about herself and start sharing her experience of traveling. So as you will see, she did very long travels and road trips, and she will share a few tips with us. So Jai, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Because everybody is from different time zones, I assume it's good evening or a good night for all of you. But yeah, let's just say, yeah, it's wonderful, joining on a platform like this, and all of us together sharing our experiences and talking about our fears when we really want to venture into motorcycling. So, thank you, Alison. Alison and I connected probably just before the pandemic, and it was a good time to stay connected with Alison and figure out so many options on how we can bring more women motorcyclists to come and explore India. So both have been working on that, and um, just like Alison, I have an organization where we train women to ride two-wheelers and three-wheelers because I feel that's what gives a lot of confidence for women, and so why can't it be a form of women empowerment? So that's what I keep doing, but more as I share my presentation. But thank you, Alison and Leah, for curating these kind of talks. I think this is what is being. This is what has to be done more often, I think, because till now we don't have any platforms. Like if there is an event, maybe few of us go to that particular event, meet people. But I think since the number of women motorcyclists is growing across the globe, it's time that we have platforms like this where each of us from different countries can come together, share our joy, share our fears, and be able to write more. That's the whole point, I think. And I'm really happy to be here. And so I'll just start off with sharing my screen. Are you able to see it? Because when I'm sharing the screen, I won't be able to see all of you.
Yes, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So welcome to my journey of two wheels. Yeah, this is from the city where I live in, and this was from one of our city rides. So yeah, so it was such a difficult.
Where do you stay in
Yeah,
India?
it's Hyderabad in India, so it's almost like southern part of India. Yeah, southern part of India, and I found it so difficult to find a picture without the helmet because we usually are seen completely riding, and very rarely we have pictures without the helmet and with the motorcycle. So I think I managed to find this one. Yeah, and so I rode across 7 countries, covering more than 1 lakh kilometers, 100,000 kilometers. In and out of India, like all across India, I can say. And then I went on a trip all the way from India to Vietnam, covering Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam in one go. So that in itself was a 17,000 kilometer trip, which we took about 56 days. And fortunately, I should say that I'm very grateful that I got a chance to do that. In Just before the pandemic in 2019, I had the opportunity to travel across the United States. There also, again, I did 17,380 kilometers, but in 35 days because the roads are so smooth, and like Leah said, at some parts it's just so flat. You ride and ride and ride and ride, and distance is just not to be bothered or worried about at all. So Myanmar and Thailand, I think someone has traveled there. So I've been to that golden triangle part where we can see Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, all at one point. So I think we crossed through the same roads. And apart from motorcycling, I think one reason why I love motorcycling is also because I'll be able to travel to a lot of places. And for me, when we want to travel, we each of us would have like okay, I travel to eat food, or I travel to have a coffee, or I travel to meet my friends, or explore new places. But for me, the bug is to visit the UNESCO site. So it all started in 2012 here back in India. I was on a Go UNESCO challenge. So the challenge was about traveling to all the UNESCO sites in India. At that point of time, there were 28 sites spread across the country, and the challenge was to visit them within a year. So of course, I didn't do everything on a motorcycle. Here and there, I did one or two, but overall, it was a good travel trip, and I realized that. Marking the UNESCO sites in any country I would travel to will give me a good path to travel around. So later on, I went to Turkey. I visited all the UNESCO sites in Turkey. Then I went to Nepal. Of course, I couldn't do all, but I think I visited two UNESCO sites in Nepal as well. And then I realized, wherever I go, I'm just going to visit the UNESCO site. So that would be like a mile marker for me, and my route will be through those UNESCO sites, like connecting those UNESCO sites. So when I did this motorcycle trip across the Southeast Asia, I first pinpointed all the UNESCO sites and I put my route through those. So that was actually very nice and fantastic. So that's how I pick my routes when I because you're going to a new country. You don't even know how you want to start, where you want to start, where do you want to end. At least we need to have some points through which we can map the route. So for me, it is UNESCO sites. I'm sure it's going to be different for each of you, but identifying that thing or those things which are close to our heart is what is very important. And I also like more of group tours than just solo trips. I do enjoy solo trips, but I think when we are taking so much time and going out and venturing into new places and exploring, it's always fun to be in group tours. Of course, they come with their own challenges, but if done well, group tours can be an excellent way to explore any places, especially on motorcycles. Then I also wrote a book on my Southeast Asia trip called Road to Mekong. And now I focus on 2 and 3 wheeler trainings through my organization MoWo, MoWo, where we train women how to ride 2 wheelers and 3 wheelers, so that they not only get confidence, but also in some cases they can pick up livelihoods in the mobility sector as well. So that is a little bit about me. And to me, riding is all about exploring. The first point for me is exploring the heritage of that place or the culture of that place, because and fortunately I come from India, where we are filled with the land is filled with diverse cultures. Just traveling across India, we get to see so many cultures and explore them, understand them. And of course, now there are more than 35 UNESCO sites in India. In Turkey, in the point when I went in 2013, there were 11. In my Road to Mekong trip, I covered I think about 20 UNESCO sites. And in the United States, where I went, there also I covered about 16 to 17. There were more than 20, but I could just cover 15 to 16. But it's really nice. For me personally, going back, it's like, on a motorcycle, you're traveling. And for me, it's more like time travel, I think, because when we go back to these old monuments or historic places, or even understanding the cultures which existed much before we were there, I think that gives a sense into how things were, or for a better understanding of that particular place. So I like delving into those times. And so for me, the big point is about exploring the historic side of wherever I'm going. And of course, who says no to the culinary cravings? I'm a big time foodie, and wherever I go, I would just want to look at the colors of the food and how they make. I would rather like, exploring the street food or the roadside food rather than fancy restaurants, because fancy restaurants, we can do it in the places where we are already there. Our social life revolves around going to some restaurants with family or friends, that anyways we are doing in in the place where we were born. So when we travel, I always prefer exploring the local cuisine, especially on the roadside. So I really love the Thai night markets, and usually night is a time we just generally sleep and not spend a lot of time during the nights when we are on motorcycle trips. But places like Thailand or Hong Kong, who doesn't want to do the night shopping or street food during the night? So food is definitely one part, and then comes beaches. Again, thankfully in India we are bestowed with a beautiful coastline, and riding along the beach in itself is a very different experience altogether. And the best part is the beaches are always accessible round the year, or all around the year, be it in India or in Vietnam. So where we went also from India to Vietnam, back in the olden days, there were a lot of Indian empires, like the kingdom rulers or the rulers who went all the way following the sea route. Back in the history, wherever you take, everybody took the sea route. So at least we may not be able to do as much as they did, but at least following the sea route is always good. It takes you to different places, and you can definitely enjoy. And even in the US, they have a beautiful coastline, and when I went there, I really enjoyed riding in Florida, going to the Key West, like literally road laid to the middle of the ocean or middle of nowhere kind. So I think that's one fun part. And of course, to the mountains and hills where we get to test our endurance. Like, I think most of us have been to Nepal here, and we all know what it is riding to the mountains. So on nice road, we can probably cover about 300 kilometers to 600 kilometers without any trouble or no tiredness. You can just do it so easily. But when it comes to mountains, I think the speed just comes down drastically, and we'll be surprised to be doing 20 kilometers in an hour sometimes. I remember when there were even roads where we did just 10 kilometers per hour, and every hour we had to take a break. But that also gives us an opportunity to test our endurance, and it's definitely needed. Like, I won't say that you should only stick to mountains or beaches or the roads, but doing a combination is always better. That way you don't get bored. So if you just continue riding on mountains, you might do it for 2 months, 3 months, and then give up. Rather, sometimes you do mountains. I mean, if especially if you're going on a long distance motorcycle riding, have a mix of mountains, beaches, and other things. So that way you don't get too tired or pull down, unless you're doing an expedition just purely to go to the mountains. Like, for example, in India, we have Ladakh. That's like every biker's dream, where people want to go to the world's highest motorable road. So there we purely know we are going to explore mountains. So and we live in south of India. So instead of riding all the way from south of India to north of India and then going to the mountains, I always suggested, that's how even I did when I went to Ladakh. Um, I just go to the nearest city and then probably hire a bike, and rather spend those 15 days in the mountains than spend 5 or 6 days riding through the highways and then going there and trying to restrict our timing just for 10 days and not being able to spend time in mountains. So it's always better to just go to the closest city, take a bike, and then spend the time in the mountains. So that is one thing. And
So
of course,
Jai,
I'm sure this part.
Jai,
Sorry, yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but just a quick question. So you said for long distance trips, and I think especially for first timers, if you can find a
Yeah,
destination that has a mix of different terrain, mountain, beach, it's nice, it's better, because at least you don't get too tired,
yeah,
and also you get to experience and discover what you like most. So for example, in my case,
yes,
I used to ride only like big tours in Europe or Australia and do a lot of back roads. But then I discovered Nepal and India and mountain roads for the first time 4 years ago. And I was like, I love that. It's three times better,
yeah,
So it's good if you can
yeah.
have a little bit mix for a first ride. But like this, you can evaluate what terrain you like most, and as well what type of bike you like to ride most. But I'd like to ask you as well,
Yeah.
Jai, because you did a lot of different terrains and you said, okay, you love beaches, mountains, highways, countryside. But if you had one only to choose, if tomorrow I was telling you, okay, your next trip, you need to choose beach, mountain, or countryside, which one would you choose?
I would still choose countryside.
Countryside. Okay,
I would,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. I love countryside. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah. So to continue, I mean, I was coming to that last point. While beaches, heritage, and mountains, it is always to do with something, and one needs to either have endurance or figure out where to go. But highways and countrysides are like everywhere. You just get out of your city over a weekend. You can do it in a day. You can do it in 10 days. You can do it in 2 months. You can do it for all along the year. That's the best part about highways and the countryside. And it's all about pure motorcycling. Like even if you're new into motorcycling, or you've explored a lot, or you're just trying to enjoy it a bit just for fun, highways are the best thing. Anybody can ride, and just take any bike. You don't have to think too much. Highways, the roads are good, so you just get to explore. And especially on long distances, I would rather suggest that if we have to cover, usually wherever we want to go, like in my case, let's take an example. I want to travel through the UNESCO site. So let us say that a point A is somewhere I'm starting, and for me to go to point B, I might have to sometimes travel 1500 kilometers. But for point C, I may have to just travel about 100 kilometers. So when I'm covering that 1500 kilometers, I would take up the highways because I don't want to see anything in between. So I need the speed and I need good roads to be able to connect me with that 1500 kilometers point. But when I have to just cover 100 kilometers and then I have the whole day to myself, I would rather choose the countryside and explore a little bit of the countryside and then go to the other place. And also on trips wherein we are doing more than 10 days, it's always good to have a combination of highways and countryside, because when you're riding on the highway, there is always this parallax mode. But when you're on the highway continuously, you suddenly think that the divider or the track is either disappearing or converging or concaving. You get those kind of hallucinations. So to avoid that, it is always better if, for example, if you're riding 500 kilometers on a highway for that day, it is better to do 100 200 on a highway, then take a small slip road for maybe 20 30 kilometers and then get back onto the highway. So that way, you'll be slightly out of that parallax mode but still continue riding. So but any day I would definitely ride the highways and the countryside, because I think for me motorcycling is all about being on the road. It's not about what motorcycle I'm riding or which place I'm going, but for me it's more about just being there on the road continuously. So definitely highways and countryside is my best bet. But yeah. So, and then comes the most important part, where it's all about planning. Wherever we want to go, the most important thing is planning. Without planning, that it's especially even for a one day trip, we may think that we don't need to plan. We can just take our bike and go wherever we want. We can definitely, absolutely. But where do you want to go and what do you want to spend? You at least need, if not for anything, you at least need fuel for your motorcycle. So planning is very very crucial, be it a one day trip, 10-day trip, or a month's trip, or if you want to go around the world. So most important thing is, first and foremost, is the maps and the destinations. So where do you want to go? In my case, I want to go to the UNESCO sites. I know, like blindly, if I'm traveling across USA in this year, I know I have to go see the UNESCO site. So it becomes very easy for me to just take the map of US and to pinpoint the places where I have to go. And then depending on the weather, so initially I wanted to travel across US in I think March 2019. So I wanted to start from, sorry, I should have put a map here, but I kind of forgot. So I started from Dallas, which is like a central area. I come from south of India, which is like more like tropical climate. We are not either too cold or too hot. Similarly, Dallas is a place where I will immediately feel comfortable. So I thought of landing in Dallas and starting my trip from Dallas. Because it was March, I first thought go towards the west, cover the north, and then from west to from west, then cover the north, then come to the east, and then come back to Dallas. But by the time I could actually do the trip, it was October 2019. So I immediately changed the route. The place still remained the same. But instead of going from Dallas towards California, I tried driving from Dallas to Florida and then to New York, because if it gets really cold, then I won't be able to come back to New York. So getting through New York and all those zones early September was very crucial. So I started and I went through, from Dallas to Florida to New York, then all the way to Chicago, and then California, and then back to Arizona and Dallas. So about 17,300 kilometers. So I think, maps and destinations play a very important role, and we should be really lucky that now we have Google. But we all know there were so many motorcyclists who had like printed paper maps, and then they would pinpoint the locations and would try to drive around. So at least that is one boon to us. You just want to go anywhere, put it on the map, and then just go drive.
So Jai,
first having the map, yeah.
Jai, just the questions on mapping your route and defining your destinations. Do you have any tips or suggestions or advices on ways to find, like, for example, would you advise to always map places where you're going to sleep or where you're going to eat? Like, how much detail would you go into your route planning? Like, what are the priorities? And also, would you, for example, if you decide to do a 5 days or 10 days trip in a country, would you usually go in the big cities first if it's the first time, or would you go more off-road, or do you try to go south first in general, or north? Like, are there any things that you always do for each of your trip when it comes to route planning and mapping?
Yeah. Particularly in my case, like I said, for me, the trigger is going to the UNESCO site. So I figure out which are the UNESCO sites. Then I put a map to see how much is the distance. And I pick up my start point depending on the season I want to travel. For example, if I have to go to the northern part of India, I would not be able to do it in, not all roads in January or February, or extremely in December or January, because the roads are closed. It's filled with snow, so you can't technically ride. So the first thing is, after figuring out the destinations, the season, during what time do you want to travel to that place. For example, even Ladakh, the roads to Ladakh open late May and close around August or September. Nowadays they are trying to open it beyond it, but it's going to be fully snow clad, and then you need to have change to your motorcycle. So if I would want to go on a trip where I'm driving on the snow, then probably I would pick up that season. But if I'm just going to explore, I would rather do it on a timing which is open for all. So first maps, destinations, and then the season where you want to travel, when you want to travel. Once you get that, then we'll know approximately how many number of days it will it be, doing that particular trip. For example, in my US trip, I know I would want to start from Dallas to Florida to New York, Chicago, California, Arizona. There are many other places, but I put through my map destinations, and I know that I can easily cover an average of 400 kilometers per day or 500 kilometers per day. So I have narrowed it down to about 30 to 35 days, depending on the travel distance and also the places I would want to see. But when it comes to my Southeast Asia trip, I had to go from India to Vietnam, and I could do the same distance, but in 56 days. Now, the difference is this was a group trip where there were three other people, and I was leading the expedition. So I know I need to cater to everybody's requirements. And the roads are not as smooth as how they were in the United States. So calculating all those things and the average distance, to me, I prefer, even on a long day or a short day, I mean, longest or shortest distance, the average distance per day should be anywhere between 300 to 350. Anything beyond that, we will definitely be exhausted. I mean, the longest I would have ridden in one day is about 600 kilometers in Thailand and 750 kilometers or 800 kilometers in the United States. But on a mountain road, the longest I would have driven was maybe 75 kilometers in an entire day. So it all depends on the terrains where we are going, and also the distance. So that's how you figure out the days. And once we have the days and the route map, the most important thing will be the accommodations.
Jai,
So probably like I,
Jai,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt again, but just the
yeah,
questions on evaluating the time. Does Google
yeah,
Map tell you that? Like, because for example, like,
yeah,
how do you know that in certain area you can do only 50 kilometers in 5 hours? Like, I've never tried because I
yeah,
went with the group. But if I put, for example, in Ladakh, and I put
hmm,
a route, a journey of 50 kilometers, will Google Map actually tell me it's going to take me six
yeah,
hours?
yeah. So what happens is, let us say from point A to point B across any country, Google Map definitely gives us, okay, it's going to be 200 kilometers and it's going to take you 3 hours, or it's going to be where there are road diversions or where there is a mountain on those kind of areas. It will say that the same 200 kilometers would take 4 hours or 5 hours. But what, when it comes to riding, because Google Maps takes an average of a car in India, it will pick up 60 kilometers per hour because that's an average speed what you can calculate. But in US, it would take 60 or 70 miles per hour as an average speed when it is showing the timing. But when I am riding, what I would do is I would always cater into extra 2 to 3 hours than what is mentioned in the Google Map. For example, if I want to go for a trip in India from point A to point B, and Google Map is showing me 200 kilometers and about 3.5 to 4 hours, I would rather calculate my time as 6.5 hours, because you would want to stop for fuel, you would want to have a pee break, you would want to have a tea break, you would want to have a lunch break, breakfast break. So, so always adding 2 to 2.5 hours extra to what Google Maps shows you will make you plan better. We should not just blindly go with what Google Maps says. And also, now this is basically during the time when you're planning the itinerary. That means you have still not started the journey, but you're pre-planning. That way, you know that, for example, if there is a mountain road, you can only cover 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers. So, and also, like I said, the third important point is the accommodations. Yeah. So mostly you will fix up the days based on the maps and destinations or the routes, but what also plays crucial is accommodations, because in certain areas, though you want to do 300 kilometers, you may not have any accommodation in that 300 kilometers. So either you stop where it is 200 kilometers, or you go a little extra and do 350 or 400 kilometers. So you also need to figure out where is that place where you can fix up the hotels, or if you have your own tents, how safe is it to pitch the tent? If you're riding through the desert, you just cannot pitch your tent anywhere. Probably in a country like India, where we have a lot of fuel stations or some schools or some public areas, we would want to pick up an area where we can pitch a tent. So, sometimes it might be 50 kilometers more than what we think, sometimes it will be less. So, it's always better to look for it through the map on the Google Map itself, try to identify the nearest hotels in that zone. You don't have to primarily book it upfront, but you at least have an idea that, for example, in India, if I'm going from Hyderabad to Bangalore, I know that Hyderabad and Bangalore are two major cities. I'll get everything, but in between there are not many major cities. If at all there is a breakdown, or if I want to stop somewhere, I need to know the next main towns, which are the possible places where I can stop by and look for my bike, or in case there is any kind of delay, if I can stop by. So let us say that I have stopped at a tier 2 place, and I know that there is a problem in the bike, or maybe I am not feeling well, I am exhausted. I would rather stay back that night and continue the travel next day. So it is always important to see where do you want to stay before even you go, because once you're out there on the road, everything doesn't go as per your plan. You might have to pick up a lot of you have to make a lot of decisions as you go on the road, but at least knowing those places, you will be able to judge betterly and make a better decision. So always planning is very, very crucial in whatever you want to do. And comes the budget. Now per day, on an average, you would have about I would, in an Indian rupee, I would think about spending 2,000 to 3,000 if I'm traveling in India. That includes, if it is that much, let me tell you how much is it. Because I know how the prices are in India. So let us say about 3,000 rupees would be approximately about 35, 30 dollars. So let us just stick to being between per day travel would be 30 to $40. Thinking you have a motorcycle, you need for the fuel for you to stay somewhere and have food.
So that's about
But when I went to US,
140,
that's a typical budget
150
per
ringgit.
day. Yeah. But when I went to the United States, my budget was about $50 to $60 per day, because in some places the meal will be more, the fuel will be more, and even the riding distances are more. So you end up spending a lot of fuel compared to what we are doing here. So depending on the country, that would change, but typically between $30 to $100 a day, you can travel anywhere across the world. Like in some countries, it might be $100 a day. In some countries, it might just be $20 a day or a $30 a day. So it all depends on which country you're traveling to. And one is that per day charges. And again, when you have to arrive at that budget, what will be very crucial is when you put the map and destination. So when I did the trip across Southeast Asia, the original distance on the map showed me 16,600 kilometers. But when we actually traveled, it got changed to 17,000 kilometers. So on the road, there will be little plus and minuses as well. So you should always cater to that. Whatever budget you make, put an extra 20% blindly, because you don't know what kind of miscellaneous expenses might come up. And most important, if you are traveling within your own country, you obviously know which chain of restaurants or which chain of hotels are cheapest, like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, depending on your comfort level. You have to book those hotels. But when you're going to another country, you may not know, so it is always better to do a little bit of research on maybe booking.com, expedia.com, or go for Airbnb, those kind of things, and identify, average out how much you can spend on the
Or
accommodations.
and also ask the locals, because I remember in India,
Also locals, yes.
yeah, the 4 stars hotel I wanted. Oh my god,
Yeah.
it was like a no star hotel even in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Seriously, like I saw the
Yeah.
hotel in India, I wanted to cry. So now every time
Yeah.
I don't rely on the stars in India. I just ask
Yeah.
local friends, like, what chain do you recommend, or this hotel, what do you think? Because honestly,
Yeah.
like, they put beautiful images. I think India is the worst.
Yeah.
Beautiful images, and you arrive, you see it's like a different
Yeah.
world.
And
Yeah.
also, the most important thing is, it's okay if you know someone in that country, but in cases where you don't know anyone, or the best thing is always look at the traveler photos from the recent months. Like if you look up for any hotel, they'll have the pictures which the business owner has put, and then they'll have the pictures which the travelers themselves have put. So don't go by the traveler pictures of 3 years or 4 years. See which are the most recent ones in the next last 3 months or 2 months, and then assess how the place is going to be. That would be one other way to look at accommodations. And once you arrive at, so for the budgets, the most important thing is your fuel based on your distance, then your stay, then your food per day, and above all those things, if you are traveling, if you are on a cross country motorcycle trip, then the visas, and then the paperwork required for the motorcycles. Sometimes they can be really expensive, and in some countries like in Southeast Asia, for Myanmar, we have to hire a local tour guide, and also a government officer from their tourism department will come travel with us. So you can either be a part of a planned group trip, or if you have a group of 10 people, then you can hire these people. So these are all the extra uh, monetary things which happen depending on the kind of country you want to travel to. For example, Thailand has its own driving rules, so it doesn't validate the international driver's license given from certain countries. So we have to go there and take a driving license. So all these are the extra things you need to consider in the budget as well. Yeah, and always safest is to carry cards and dollars. That if you're especially going cross country, and if you have it in bank, also make sure you have it in some kind of an account which is easily accessible from wherever you're going. Yeah. And most important is, again, unfortunately, I think I forgot to put that. And carry light, pack light. You don't have to like take the whole house on your motorcycle. Worst case, you can just let go of everything, live on two t-shirts and one riding pants. So pack as less as possible if you need, and keep washing and rewashing. And if you need to buy anything, always, you can buy the cheap stuff, wear it and use it and throw it there and come back. So, always pack light. It's like saving for the raining day kind of an effect. Yeah.
So speaking of
Yeah.
pack light, what are the things that you are always taking? Like if you had to drill into the minimum of bare minimum, how would your
Yeah.
bag look like? What would there be inside?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can show you a picture of. Are you still able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you seeing my photographs, or are you
We
seeing
see
the
we
presentation?
see the your presentations of planning.
Presentation. Okay. Let me
Yeah,
check
just-
this picture. Just give me a minute. I have a sheet where I'll show like what all has been packed. So let me just show that picture.
What you have in your packing bag. So
Yeah, it's like yeah.
for
So I
me,
have that.
I
Let me
always
show
have
you.
like those rain gear and to protect my boots always, because that's something that I hate
Yeah.
most, is to have my feet in water or wet. So I always have rain gear. What are the really top tips? Well, I never take any tools, which is really bad, because I think that's something that we actually need to carry as well, like basic stuff.
So I will just share you another screen. One second. So, so yeah, this is what I have packed for a 35-day trip. And what I packed for 56-day trip was actually much lesser than this. Because when I was going to Southeast Asia, I don't have to worry about cold weather. So I didn't have to pack a lot of jackets or multiple layers. And the time I was traveling through the United States was during the months of September and October. So I didn't really need a lot of rain gear as well, just for a rainy day once in a while. But definitely a good quality helmet. And for me, what matters is I love the Indian masala tea or the Indian milk tea, and I know that traveling in US, that is one thing I won't get. So I actually took some tea bags and then some dry fruits and one or two notebooks. That was a book I wrote, and the red color thread is like a holy thread. So in India, we believe in a lot of superstitions, maybe, but it's always good to believe in something. So I wanted to tie it to that motorcycle. One thing what is really very important is these blue color bags in bags. So you get these bags in bags, and because you don't want to dump all your clothes or your toiletries into one saddle bag, and every time you don't have to remove the saddle bag to see or find one t-shirt. So what I do is, here you can see about five blue color bags. In one bag I will put two or three night clothes, like what I would want to sleep in, two or three sets. And in another one, I'll just put one jeans and 5 to 6 t-shirts, and then a separate bag for my undergarments, which will go back into this bag. And in the other one, I'll have my warm wear. So, and then a separate bag for my toiletries. So when I put it in this saddle bag, I'll try to put two bags on one side of the saddle and two bags on the other side of the saddle. So I clearly know what is on each side of the saddle. So during the day, when I stop my bike, I don't have to empty the entire saddle bag. I can just open one side of the saddle bag and take one bag, take the clothes where I want to sleep in, and take the other bag which has clothes for the next day. So whenever I stop on that particular day, I try to change into the clothes, and then the used ones go into another laundry bag, and I'll try to take the clothes which I'm going to wear the next day and keep it ready on the previous night itself. Then put back everything into the saddle bag. In the morning, I just have to put one bag into the saddle bag and close it. So that also saves a lot of time in packing and repacking. You don't have to, like, every time open your saddle bag 100 times and then packing and repacking. So, and these bags and bags also try to compress, and it'll be more compact. Like, you don't have to pack multiple bags. And then of course the riding gear, your jacket and the liners, the shoes, the boots. Yeah. So this is pretty much what goes into the packing.
I can see the black. So first of all, great. I mean, super good tips. because I always have like a big backpack and I put everything in there, and then every day you need to unpack and pack, and it's just a mess. So
Yeah.
super good tips to really separate your different clothes. Also, I can see like some bags at the end, the dark ones. It looks like
Yeah.
one I recently bought that is amazing, like those waterproof bags, but I'm not sure what because I
Yeah.
can see a big one behind the boots and one
Yeah.
on the floor behind. What are those?
Yeah, those are the saddlebags. This is a
Okay.
Nelson rig ones, I think. Yeah, Nelson rig. These are the waterproof ones. When I rode in the US, I just left them out. Let them on the motorcycle. They had a layer of scaled ice, but still nothing happened. It was very good. Totally
Nice.
waterproof. So also it depends on the kind of motorcycle you are riding. So I was riding the Interceptor, which still from the company side, because the silencer is on a
That's
angle,
Royal
we can't
Enfield,
use
huh?
all the saddle boxes. So I went for the saddlebags.
So that's the Royal Enfield Interceptor
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you're riding. Yeah.
yeah. So let's just
So
get
Mila
back
Mila
to
is
the
saying
normal screen.
Mila is saying very well organized. I usually don't think much on the night outfit, but if I have to, I will wear a t-shirt that I would wear the next day. Oh yeah, that's a good tip as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too. I used to do that. Like,
yeah, that's also good.
after your day riding, you're dirty, you're sweat and so on. You just get changed,
Yeah.
put new clothes, and the new clothes for the evening, you use them for the next day. Yeah, that's a good tip too. Yeah.
Yeah, but in a country like India, for us, we are so sweaty. We just don't want to sleep in the same clothes and don't want to wear the clothes what you sleep in for the next day. So instead, what we do is we use the same T-shirt to sleep for 2 days if the weather is good. But if it is very warm, then change every day. At least the T-shirt, but the pants or the shorts can remain the same. It all depends on which kind of a weather you are traveling to and where you're going to stay. So all my trips, I do not prefer a lot of uh, um, camping kind of this thing, because usually when I go for trekking, I do a lot of camping. But while riding a motorcycle, I think that every day I'm riding 300 kilometers or 400 kilometers. So there's no point trying to find a place to pitch the tent unless I'm on a holiday spending 2 3 days. I would rather stay in a hotel, get a good night's rest, and then move the next day. So, in those kind of things, I don't even have to carry the tent. I don't have to carry the towels, and I don't have to carry a lot of toiletries. Just have basic ones. And every hotel you go, you keep changing those. Just refill your supplies. And every 4 or 5 days, I usually use a laundry either in the hotel, or, for example, when I went to US, I lived in many Indians' homes. I was on a budget trip, so I didn't have a lot of money to accommodate or afford to book hotels everywhere. So I stayed in a lot of Indian community homes. So whenever we are staying, we just put our clothes for wash, dry it up, and then you're ready to go. So these are little things which we can do will be quite helpful.
Yeah, and Noni is also sharing that she uses large plastic zipper bags to separate a set of
Yeah,
days clothes per bag. Yeah, that's a good tip too. You have your
yeah,
set of clothes already
that's also
ready
good.
in bags.
Yes.
And do you use those? There are also those bags that you can pull the air out, and that's super good because
Yeah,
that
vacuum
saves
full.
so much
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
That's really good
Now,
too.
I would like to reduce the use of plastic bags, so that's why I try to carry these bags. In that entire trip, what I've shown earlier, the only plastic bag, the Ziploc bag I had, was for those dry fruits, because I couldn't keep a box and anything else would be difficult. So that was the only plastic cover I used. I try consciously not to carry too much plastic. That's the least we could do. So. But in a worst case, when you don't have bags, that is better. Because I know I travel a lot. I always have bags in bags with me. It can be reusable. Yeah.
What I try to do when I'm traveling is I use dry bags,
Yeah.
like they use in rafting and kayak use on the river, and
Yes.
you can get them all different
Yes,
sizes.
absolutely. Even that is good. Anything to basically separate, segregate and keep your clothes.
But yeah, try them. I really recommend try them out.
Yeah. These are good because you just open your saddle bag, be it a dry bag or this bag. Because the bags I have shown also come with a handle, so I just have to lift it up, carry that bag into the hotel or wherever I'm staying, and then bring it back and put it back. So it just makes life really very easy. Yeah. So now coming to the most important and crucial step, road safety. Irrespective of whatever we do, whichever country we travel to, one ground rule we need to set for ourselves and for the people whom we are traveling together with is the road safety. Always, especially on long distances, do not let go of your riding gear. Most important is helmet, riding jacket, riding pants, boots, and gloves. It's okay even if you are not able to sleep in a better hotel, spend enough to invest into a good quality riding gear, because that is what protects you. No matter how professional rider you are or how safe you ride, you don't know what is coming behind you or what is coming alongside of you. Danger or accidents can happen anytime. The best we can do is at least be prepared. Prevention is the best. So at least being in a full gear, even if you fall, the chances or the probability of getting hurt badly or getting injured is quite less. So always invest in the best riding gear, and also look into what kind of riding gear you need depending on the season or the region where you're living. Like in India, it's always tropical weather, so we need a mesh based riding jacket. We cannot have leather riding jacket at all. It's like just doesn't make any sense. So we always have mesh kind of a riding jacket. And when it comes to riding boots also, you have to see whether you want ankle length shoes or up till your calf length. And depending on your riding pants and the boots, you need to see that does your riding pant have a proper knee guard which doesn't interfere with your boot length. Because usually the riding pants knee guard, this where it ends is where the shin begins, and then some shoes, riding shoes, try to come over those knee guards. So it's quite risky. So always ensure that don't, even if you buy things separately, always ensure that everything is in sync and it will not bother you while you're riding. Yeah. And following the traffic rules, whichever country you are riding, following the traffic rules is really the most crucial thing, because we also can set an example. In all these days, all these years of riding more than 1 lakh kilometers, I can proudly say that we have never been through an accident or an incident, whether I am riding or I'm being responsible for somebody else riding, because all that happens because we just follow the traffic rules, respect the country, and just follow the rules. Before going or traveling to other countries, try to read about the traffic rules there. And most important is, the best thing is, at least start your first or second day riding along with the local motorcyclists. Like for example, when I went to US, there is this huge group of Indian motorcycle riders. So I got in touch with them, and on day one, they came to see me off for the first 40 or 50 miles. Back in India, I am used to ride only at 40 miles or 50 miles per hour, because our roads are not built to ride 70, 80 miles per hour. So on the first day, it was quite tricky for me to ride at 70 and 80. But traveling along with them, it gave me that enough buffer to understand and move around. And then slowly in 2 hours, I could move from 40 to 50 to getting comfortably riding at 70 miles per hour on day one itself. So it always helps getting in touch with the local motorcycling groups and trying to go out for a ride with them. As a pack, you get to learn a lot. And most important is, even if you have a little bit of drowsiness, or if you know that you're feeling sleepy, the best thing is to pull over onto one side, stop, take a nap, or at least wash your face with the water, splash some water. And especially in tropical weather, this happens quite a lot. So, just wash your face and, be ready to again ride. So, following the rules is really, really important. And though we may think that, oh, we can ride comfortably, we are not tired, why should we take break? But I would suggest that it's important to take breaks for every 75 or 100 kilometers, whether there is a need or there is no need. Like, you might need fuel only for 200 kilometers or 300 kilometers, depending on the motorcycle and the mileage it gives. But you may not have to eat breakfast, or you may not have to need a tea break, but it's better to take a break. And again, you don't have breaks don't have to always be like a long break. Even a 1 minute break is good, especially when you're riding on highways. To break the monotony, just once in a while pull over, probably where there is a toll gate. Toll gates are good meetup points, especially if you're riding in a pack and you're not close enough to each other. Keep toll gates as your mark points if you want to see whether the fellow rider is there or not. Though you put a Bluetooth, the range is only for 1 kilometer or 3 kilometers. That's it, not more than that. So if you're not able to find your co-rider, take a break at the toll gate and then wait until she or he comes and joins you at the toll gate. So toll gates is a good place to stop by and park your bike. Always, when you want to take a break, ensure that you have enough space on the road to take that kind of a break. So some highways you just cannot stop on the highway. So they might be slight detours or some stations. So you just stop your bike, take a break, and then move on. So, and whenever you're taking these breaks, it is important to stretch. Like, you don't have to do a lot of fitness exercises, but just stretch. That makes you feel more comfortable when you get back to riding. And most important is checking for the breakdowns. So every time you have to ensure that before going on the trip, your motorcycle is fully serviced and understand if there is any problem with the bike. And once you're riding also, depending on how many kilometers you're riding, for example, for some motorcycles, after every 500 or 1000 kilometers, you need to you add a chain spray. That is something you can do by yourself. You don't have to go to a workshop to, and especially when we are on long distance rides, you don't have to like stop every day to get a chain spray. You carry it with you and then use it whenever it is required. And after covering 2000 kilometers or 5000 kilometers, if there is a service center, the kind of bike you're riding, it's always better, whether the bike has an issue or not, it's always better to get it checked beforehand than wait for it to break down and then be stuck out of nowhere. So whenever it is possible, take your bikes to the service stations, get it checked, and see if there is any problem. Otherwise, you can just continue. And some bikes may need a change of tire depending on what kind of tire you're riding on. Especially when I did the US trip, most of it was on the highways, but a bit we were getting into the mountains. So whether my tires were still good, but I thought it's better to change it because we covered almost 6 to 7,000 kilometers by then, or no, 8,000 kilometers. Then I thought it's better because there was a service station, and then after that, for the next 10 days, we would be riding in the middle of nowhere. So I thought rather than being stuck somewhere, it's better to change the tire there itself. So those are the kind of things we need to be aware of and take care. Yeah. Any questions here, or can I go ahead?
So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to share, because then in a few minutes, I think Jai is going to wrap up, and then we're going to do a little quiz. So we're going to test our knowledge on the motorcycle travel. So ask any questions you might have to Jai now. If you want to pop them in the chat, or if they come later.
Text, I can't see. Yeah, probably somebody has to read it out to me, because when I'm sharing this, I won't be able to see the chat.
Yes. I'll let you know if I see any questions popping in the chat.
Yeah.
Cool. So shall we go on the quiz then?
Yeah. You want me to wrap up, or?
Can I ask what was your most difficult experience? Like, really, you got stuck or something like that. It's like the worst part of the journey, and how did you recover from it? Sorry, I have to close my video because I'm eating. I'm breaking fast.
No
I apologize, but I'm listening all the way.
Absolutely no problem. So, for example, let me bring you here. So, can you believe this is a kind of road in US? Like, when I went to US, in my mind, I did not even plan for any dirt roads, because I know the kind of places I'm going to is all going to be highway, and my tires were good enough, and I just don't have to worry about these kind of dirt roads. And US is a place like, you can easily go 80 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour. And by then, I think when I was at this place, it was almost about 25 days into the trip, and I was really enjoying the roads. And one day I had to go to a UNESCO site, which was off the highway, and there was a countryside road. Even that was good, and I was going on good speed. All of a sudden, there is literally no road. This is still good. What you are seeing is the dry patch where it is fully filled with sand. But before even coming to this place, imagine this kind of a road in water, in a lot of clay and mud. So the tire would skid, and I had to literally ride at 10 miles per hour or less than that. So I just didn't even know. I mean, I was like, I'm going to fall here and I don't know what would happen. All I thought to my mind is, even if I fall, I'm fully on my riding gear and my saddlebags would stop the bike from getting damaged. So I should be okay. So, I think every road we will pass, it might seem difficult at any given point of time, but once you cross, you'll cross. And then the return is quite easy. So there are, especially when I went to Ladakh, we went back in 2015 where there were literally no roads. So we are riding on the mountain top, then, the winding roads. There is no road. There are a lot of gravel. There are a lot of storms passing by, and you need to take those deep curves. If you miss one, you will be directly down into the valley. So I think once you're out there, you find your own confidence of riding through those places. And initially, it will be a little bit challenging. It's always better to lower the gear. Like, for example, if you're going in fourth gear, and at any point you feel that you're not comfortable, immediately lower the gear. Don't go back to one, but try to toggle between 2 and 3, and then try to get hold of the bike or balance the bike. So most important is balancing the bike, and always pack your saddlebags with equal weights on each side so the bike doesn't get pulled onto one side. So that makes a lot of difference. And if you're uncomfortable at any point of time, the best is pull your bike onto one side, take a deep breath, try to assess the road and figure out how easily you can go. Taking that break and then recontinuing the journey will always give you that confidence.
Yeah, that's an excellent tip. And to be honest, I think as well, the more difficult it is, the most satisfying it is at the end, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Jai. Any other questions, ladies?
If you don't have any questions, I'll continue. Just one more. Most important, now it's time to forget about destinations, maps, safety, and everything. Most important is just explore and leave your worries at home. We might think about women's safety, we might think about road safety, all sorts of worries will come if you allow them to be there in your mind. But the idea of being on a motorcycle itself is a big thing, and you have picked up that step. And nobody can stop you from riding your own freedom or riding your own joy. All it is your own mind. You try to trick your mind that what will happen if I fall down. I'm wearing a full riding gear. What will happen? Even if I fall, I'm not going to get hurt. What will happen if there is a damage to the motorcycle? Insurance is there, it will be covered, so you don't have to worry. So often we get pulled down by our own worries in our head. So planning for any trip prepares you to take up those challenges in a better way. So once you plan, half of your worries get resolved during the planning stage, and when you're right there on the road, you'll be a much confident person. So you may have a lot of questions, but what is important is just start, just get rolling. They will, the obstacles will just go away most of the times by themselves. We really don't have to do anything, just keep going. Yeah. And I hope to meet you all somewhere, sometime on the road. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice.
That's
Thank you
so
so
great,
much,
Jai.
Jai.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So while Leah is preparing for our little quiz,
Wonderful. Thank you.
Leah is going to share the link to the quiz. And while she's preparing that, just sharing with us, there was just another last questions from Mila asking you, Jai, if you had a soul bump.
No, not yet. Because, like I said, I generally don't. If, for example, if I'm doing 300, 400 kilometers continuously for 4 or 5 days, the fifth day I try to reduce it to 100 or 150. It'll only be one odd day that I do 500 or 600 kilometers. That's all. But I would try to split the distances in a way that I I don't get a sore palm. So trust me, I've been on the roads for more than 50 days, but never a sore palm.
Cool. So Leah, the floor is yours.
Okay, lovely. So the link is in the chat. So if everybody just jumps in and clicks on that link, and I shall set it up. Is everybody in? Oh,
Yes.
And yep, okay, beautiful. Okay, so what should I start thinking about before I set off? So time frame, weather, gear, the route, or all of the above? All of the above, correct. Everybody got that right. Just an easy one to start off with. Question 2. What are some of the resources to start planning a trip? They're researching routes and shared experiences on the internet, connecting with motorcycle travel groups and forums, motorcycle travel guides and podcasts, or all of the above. All of the above. So much information out there now. Question 3. What are 2 essential items that I need to carry? A tyre repair kit and extra fuel, extra water and a makeup bag, matches and a deck of cards, wet weather gear and a sleeping bag. Now, Jai didn't necessarily touch on all of this. Yeah, so a tyre repair kit and extra fuel, but in saying that, wet weather gear and a sleeping bag if you're camping is also really important. Makeup, not so important when you're in the middle of nowhere. When should I check my bike for mechanical safety? 2 weeks before you leave, every morning before leaving for the next leg, at the yearly service, or when I return home from my trip. Every morning before the next leg, just a basic maintenance check to make sure that everything is still running in order. And the last question. What is something I can do to keep focused when riding? Make sure you wear sunglasses, leave as soon as the sun comes up, or take regular breaks. Take regular breaks, yep, absolutely. And the leaderboard, we have Connie coming in at number 1.
Nice.
And then we have Agent number 9 and Crystal coming in 2nd and 3rd. Well done.
Nice. Well done, girls. Do you have a second one you want to run through?
I do have a second one. Let me just jump out of this one.
So was it easy? Did you find it easy or somewhere a little bit tricky?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. I think it depends on the areas, like the geographical locations.
panicking.
Okay, just bear with me for a second.
Well done, Ahmed. You see, but I mean, Ahmed is my intern. He's been like creating videos and learning about motorcycling for the last 2 months. So I hope you start learning things now.
Yeah.
Very good. You were fast as well. Okay, so let's
Now
do
the
let's
second
do
one.
another
Okay.
one.
Okay, so I've just shared the link. Looks like I think everybody's joined.
Yeah, for me it's a bit slow to load. I couldn't answer the first question, but that must be my connection. I've never had such a bad connection since I'm in France. Seriously.
Important safety tip.
What is an important safety tip to remember? Letting people know where I'm going to be, mapping out, keeping hydrated, or all of the above? Yep, all of the above. Absolutely. How many kilometers should I travel per day? As many as you can, depending on how you feel on the day. No more than 300 Ks or no less than 300 Ks. Yeah, so depending on how you feel on the day, you just have to make that judgment call. So when traveling alone, should you keep friends and family updated regularly as to your plans? Take the isolated roads and dark alleys so no one sees you. Tell everyone you meet that you're traveling alone. Yeah, keep people updated. True or false? Riding a motorcycle is more tiring than driving a car long distances. True. That's definitely true. And depending on the terrain that you're in as well, that you're riding on. Last question. When riding in a group, where should you place more inexperienced riders? At the lead, at the back, or behind the leader? And this actually might be different for different groups. But no, that looks like everyone's pretty much on the same. So behind the leader. Now, let's see the leaderboard. Looks like Connie just absolutely killing it. Fastest one. Connie,
Well done.
Pinky, and Alpha.
Well done. Well done.
Loving these names too.
Yeah, you already have a lot of knowledge. But I think, to be honest, Leah is always making quizzes that are not too difficult. Some are a little bit tricky, and some others are just like funny and good. But those are good reminders. So well done, Connie. You did great. So Connie actually traveled to India, and she was one of my students. She brought a friend as well for riding classes in Kuala Lumpur. So super nice to see you here, Connie. So
Nice to meet everyone here. Can't wait to travel to India again. A nice place.
Yes.
We should.
Yes, that would be amazing. So that's how I'm gonna close up. Actually, for those who are interested, so I told you about the trip that Jai and I are organizing. So I have one in Nepal, one in India. The Myanmar is on hold, and I've been also working on one in Iran. But if you want to find some information about the India road trip that will be organized by Jai, you can find it here. And if you are interested, obviously, with the current situation, we don't really know when that can be planned, obviously. But if you want to be kept informed, and if you would like to be able to be part of this inaugural trip, all woman motorcycle tour in India, where we're gonna, meet the ladies that Jai is training and take part in the Bakutama festival and live with local women in the homestays in South India. Please feel free to register here. At least I'll have your emails, and I can keep you informed, that I can see who are the women who are interested in going ahead with this trip. So I just send the link here as well, to register or to show your interest. So I think I posted in the email as well, in when I was advertising this event. But this is a recorded event, so I'll send you to all of you a follow-up email with these with those links as well, if you are interested, and if you want to be registered as a potential road trip guest with us. So that's about India. Just before we close up, I also would like to ask you a little favor. Actually, Crystal, you've already done it a few times. Thanks so much. It's always valuable. But if you can give some feedback on this event, and also let us know what kind of topics you would like to talk about in the future, because we are making those events, again, I repeat, to encourage more women to ride and to make them feel safer, and to give them a platform to learn together. So if you can just take a few minutes, it's like 3 to 4 minutes, just to fill in the survey that I put in the chat. To give your opinion on the topics you'd like to talk about, that would be amazing. And last but not least, I'd like to announce as well our next event next month is going to be on the 23rd of September. So mark your calendar, and it's going to be about motorcycle maintenance. So Leah has found an amazing garage, which is called Skinnies, yes, in Brisbane, in Australia, and it's a social garage. And they organize a lot of social events. People can come have drinks and can come in the evenings to repair their own bikes at the workshop and get some advices. So we are working now with the guys and the girls from this workshop in Brisbane, for them to deliver a program to give us some mechanics training more in depth. So yeah, quite looking forward to that. So mark your calendar for the 23rd of September. And maybe a little round before we close. We have 1 minute left. If everyone can share, what is your motorcycle travel dream, destination or place or whatever? Maybe we can close down with that. So, Connie,
Well,
do you
I'll
want?
go.
Yeah, you go. Okay, Leah, go ahead.
Okay. So definitely Southeast Asia, and a lot of it has to do with the scenery is absolutely spectacular. But the food, I have to say, it's the food. Yeah, that's for me.
Okay.
For me, again, it's Asia. Originally, I planned a trip when I lived in Indonesia to go from Indonesia through Asia up into Nepal. And for various reasons, I couldn't do it at the time. But now I'm in Nepal, I want to do that trip all the way back down to Indonesia, going through Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia. Yeah. So yeah, that's one trip I really, really want to do. Apart from Ladakh. Ladakh is the other one.
Nice, exciting. Noni, do you want to share your dream trip?
I would like, I don't know, I've only seen the pictures and heard from people. I would like to go to the Balkans, the sort of, that side of Europe where it's still not too developed, but it's beautiful. It still look not so commercial, I think. I don't know. I haven't been there. But yeah, it's still a little bit rough. It's not too polished. Yeah.
Nice. Balkans. Mila?
Anyone been there? Anyone been there?
No, not
No?
yet, but definitely Balkans is on my list too.
Yeah. Looks so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Well, definitely on the top of Southeast Asia, Thailand and further up. I saw a friend of mine who actually did that yearly, and they went up to India and Pakistan. And the story that I heard is pretty challenging, crossing the rivers, and the lady riding at the back had to hop on any transportations to cross a very cold, icy river water. It's tough. I just wanted a good ride. I think going to the scenic area, you know. The things that attracts me is actually maybe on the west side of India, southern India. Is it Puducherry or something like that, or to go to Goa? It's just a chill cruising ride, and a chance to meet people. Really, that's my scene. To see a beautiful hillside, river on the side, and to actually have time to sit down and get to know people. And of course, the food is very important. That's without question.
You should definitely come to India, Mila. You can start from Puducherry and take the coastal route and go all the way up till Goa. You'll find most interesting cultures, and then you'll be riding along the coastal route.
And you're
Quite
sure
nice
to
and
meet people,
amazing food. Yeah?
And you
Definitely.
cannot
I'm
miss
sure
people
that
in India. You're going to meet people for sure.
Yeah, lots of
the
people.
problem is my trip will be very long because I end up spending another day and another day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
That's the
definitely.
pleasure. Crystal?
I think I'm the most inexperienced and the one with the less riding distance here. But my dream is first to do the blowpipe run that is from Kuching all the way up to Kota Kinabalu in one day. So that's my first goal after this pandemic is over. And I just want to focus on local. So because I'm in Sarawak, so I want to do a round trip in West Malaysia, go around.
I want to do that too.
Well, you have friends to welcome you on West Malaysia for sure. So Noni, Mila, Koni is based in Penang, and I told you for the blowpipe run, I'm totally game. Like I'd love. Like Borneo is such an amazing place. So okay, nice, lovely. How about you, Koni?
Hi, I would like, for the time being, I think I will just focus about Malaysia. A tour around West Malaysia would be good, but I don't mind doing East Malaysia also. And if you ask me about overseas, what tempted me most is the Northeast India, the Seven Sisters. Oh, the sceneries must be spectacular, amazing. Yeah, you name it, it's amazing. I believe so. Yeah, that's my dream. If I'm allowed to go overseas for a motorcycle trip lah.
Yeah, you should definitely. It's really beautiful. Seven Sisters is very less explored, and it's really beautiful riding around those places if you like landscape and nature.
Yeah, and the Sikkim as well. I'd love to do Sikkim, but I think for me, like, I think for now, in all my motorcycle tours, even I went to Europe, Australia, and Africa. I think Nepal will still remain like my favorite destination. But I'd be really interested to go to Mongolia. Mongolia is kind of my dream as well. But also like, yes, like crazy countries where you don't travel much. So those are really like really off the beaten track destinations. So well, thank you so much, ladies. for your time. Thank you, Jai, for sharing your experience and
Thank you,
sharing about
everyone. I hope you
MoWo
enjoyed.
and for
Yeah.
connecting.
Thank you, Jai. Thank you, Alison.
Yes,
Thank
take
you.
care. Have a good night and
Bye.
speak to you
Yeah.
soon.
Bye.
Sorry. Nice meeting you guys.
Hope to see you in
Bye.
September.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.